Talk 100.7 FM.
I had one beer. Well, do you think it was... Nope, it was one beer. Oh, good. How did you get home? I don't remember. How'd you get there? I don't remember. Where is the place? I don't remember. How many years ago was it? I don't know.
There you go, 906 on the Talk of the Town. It's 55 at our Canal Park location, 215 at Leland Ave.
They say they've sent letters and emails laying out witnesses and evidence for the FBI. They say they've received no response so far. They are calling this inconceivable. We asked the FBI. So far, no comment. President Trump has said he has no problem with the FBI interviewing Dr. Ford or Brett Kavanaugh.
There you go. A little bit from ABC, and FBI apparently has not reached out to Dr. Ford. You also heard a little bit from the president yesterday during a rally. And we're going to get the response, I think, from Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. She's joining us in studio, sticking with us here throughout the morning. Jason Aiello, Rocco LaDuca, Mark Wilbur. It is the Talk of the Town, Talk 100.7 FM. A little aha and Take On Me, another one of the songs that Claudia. I don't know how you run to these songs, Claudia, but
hey, that's a good one.
I guess that's the best one out of them.
Ever see the video for that one?
Wicked.
Yeah, it's a little
the guy
like
comes
drawing
in out of the drawing, the cartoon.
Yeah.
You don't even want to see my playlist on my phone. You're gonna laugh.
Another
it's
one
like
bites the dust.
80s Motown.
Really?
All right. Well, look at the playlist.
I love Dire Straits.
We might ask you.
Life. Is that one of the?
My favorite Dire Straits is Romeo and Juliet.
I'm writing them all down.
That's a great song. You should play it.
We'll ask for the playlist. We won't ask for your.
I love the Supremes.
Your yearbook.
What? Yes, we're not going to ask for your yearbook, but I wanted to talk about.
You can look at my yearbook. You want me to talk about my yearbook?
Bring in your yearbook next time. You got.
I look horrible in my yearbook picture.
Let's bring both you and Bridget's
So
yearbook.
I will tell you what my
picture.
high school yearbook quote is. I said this earlier. It's a quote that I got that my dad loved and that I put on there, and it's a smooth sea doesn't make a skillful mariner.
So rough waters helps train you, and it helps you.
Yeah, so I think it sort of would look like the definition of my journey in politics. It definitely has not been a smooth sea.
You have not. So let me ask you this question: what do you think?
Crashing waves there, Claudia.
I'm swimming against the tide.
I'll get back to that in a moment, but I did want to ask you about the Brett Kavanaugh stuff that's going on. Where hopefully we're going to have some resolution or closure to this week, at least in terms of the FBI supplemental background investigation, and then if there's going to be a vote either this week or over the weekend, we'll see what happens there. But on the campaign trail, last week you shared your thoughts about Brett Kavanaugh and these allegations, but what have you been hearing from people out there, the voters that are approaching you at your events that you go to? Are they having any reaction to this?
Yeah, first let me say something, and we've got Mark Wilbur here, who I've actually substituted for in family court when he was disqualified due to recusal situations.
And just to be clarified, but that's because I was a law clerk.
He was a law clerk to the former Judge Pamilio,
right.
So he couldn't appear in court. So sometimes I would appear for him in court, in family court years ago. But sexual assault, rape, these things are very, very serious. It has to be taken seriously, that these issues, and I'm sure Mark can speak to this as someone who practices a lot of time in family court. Whether you're representing someone who's a victim of sexual assault or rape, it almost invariably comes up a lot in family court cases. Some of it is legitimate. I mean, we have the Me Too movement, I think, was important because, look at women were afraid to come out. Mm-hmm. But I think that we have to be very, very careful about the due process situation. I've had friends who have been victims of sexual harassment and sexual assault and clients. And we have to be very careful about who's telling the truth and who isn't. And so a lot of that evidence is my experience with it. I've been a victim of all these things. I will tell you this. I think people who commit these types of acts are people who have a mental illness. They have a sickness. They don't know when to stop. The average human being, or you and I, we know when somebody says no, if somebody makes an advance or you give someone an invitation to reach for whatever it is, and you don't want it, you indicate no with either signals, language, body language, and the person stops. The person that doesn't stop is the person that's committing these things, and it's typically not just one time. Yeah. It happens repeatedly.
It's a pattern, right.
And it's a pattern. And so that's one of the things that I'm looking at.
Why do you think it seems to afflict then people in high positions of power, where they obviously rose those? You had Les Moonves with CBS recently. You had Matt Lauer. You have Weinstein. You have all these individuals that were rising up in power, that whether it's a mental illness or not, that they probably had people telling them no, and they still continue to do it.
Well, I don't say it's a diagnosable mental illness, but I think it's a byproduct of someone who maybe is very narcissistic, who feels that they're powerful and they don't need to be accountable to other people. Those are the kinds of people that typically exhibit this behavior. But that being said, I just want to preface that with these are very serious issues. So as I traveled back, though, but I do think I watched part of the testimony of Dr. Ford. I watched part of Brett Kavanaugh. I didn't get to see them as the entirety of both of them. Yeah. So I think you have to look at them. I'd like to sit down and see the entire tape of both. I just haven't had time to do that yet. But the impression that I got from just what I saw is though people said she was very believable. Mm. And as I said on your show, I think credibility is the issue, though, to corroborate this. I know she really is not very specific about it. And trust me, I've never met a victim who doesn't know literally every circumstance. It lives with you for the rest of your life. I mean, you know a lot more detail. And she said she only had one beer. You remember these things. These are serious. I'm not saying that it didn't happen to her, but I wasn't convinced that it was even Judge Kavanaugh. So when I came back Friday from D.C. after the delay, then I went around to the district. I was all over Binghamton, all over Shenango County, Oneida County, Oswego County. I was everywhere all weekend. The overwhelming sentiment from the people I was seeing, and even people who were independent and Democrat, were, this is getting ridiculous. This is like, they may not like the philosophy of Judge Kavanaugh, but we're questioning the process. Why was this leaked to a media outlet, not, to the FBI? Why was the document not brought into the hearings? If this is so serious and goes to the credibility and the character of Judge Kavanaugh, why wasn't it part of the hearings? And so it all looks like a contrived game by the Democrats to create this. And that's the overwhelming sentiment that I received from our constituents in our community.
And do you think that was something, whatever, if it was politics to some extent, and the Democrats are hoping that this will get their base out there to vote against Republicans, do you get the impression as well that among the people you've met, that it's something that if that's what the Democrats were hoping for, it might backfire and actually engage and ignite the Republicans more solidly to come out?
Yeah, I think it's awakened a lot of Republicans to realizing that this kind of gamesmanship and this type of that to put these people in charge of our government again could be very much a threat if this is how they're going to act. And that's just anecdotal discussions I've had at various events throughout the weekend.
Claudia, what was the reaction to people to Kavanaugh himself? Did they discuss at all with you what they thought about him, what they felt about him, or were they just upset with the process that they think the Democrats are playing politics to delay this?
I think a lot of people were upset with the process. I didn't hear anything negative about Judge Kavanaugh other than let's refocus. Judge Kavanaugh has over 300 decisions on the D.C. Circuit Court. Arguably, many have said the second most important court in our country, next to the Supreme Court. Why didn't any of these things come out 12 years ago when he sought to be in that court? I mean, a lot of people have raised this issue. Why all of a sudden why isn't this brought up in the regular hearings during the course of this guy's confirmation? Why didn't this come up? And I think Lindsey Graham, who I think, did a great job in saying